For decades, Western military planners believed they had the future of air combat under control. Stealth, massive budgets, centralized command systems, and complex logistics were supposed to guarantee dominance. That assumption is now under serious threat because something unexpected just happened, and it forced even the most confident defense strategists to quietly reassess everything they thought they knew. Inside planning rooms linked to Zero, discussions have taken a noticeably different tone. Less certainty, more caution. The reason is simple. A small nation with a limited defense budget demonstrated a combat philosophy that directly challenges the alliance's most expensive and politically sensitive air power doctrines. What shocked the world wasn't raw speed, stealth coatings, or billion-dollar sensor fusion. It was something far more unsettling, proof that modern air dominance might no longer belong to the richest, but to the smartest. The aircraft at the center of this shift was designed with one brutal assumption in mind: that future wars would not be clean, organized, or fought from pristine airbases. Instead, it assumed chaos. Runways destroyed, satellites jammed, command centers targeted, logistics cut. In that environment, traditional fifth-generation strategies begin to crack. While most Western air forces rely on a small number of heavily protected bases, this jet was built to operate from highways, frozen roads, and short, damaged strips. During recent exercises and evaluations, it demonstrated the ability to land, refuel, rearm, and launch again in under 20 minutes, using a ground crew so small it stunned observers. No massive support chain, no specialized infrastructure, just speed, flexibility, and survival. That alone raised eyebrows. But what truly unsettled planners was how this capability fits into a broader strategy. Instead of concentrating air power into a few vulnerable nodes, the aircraft enables dispersion, dozens of locations, constant movement, no fixed pattern. For any adversary or alliance, this creates a nightmare scenario. You can't easily plan strikes when you don't know where the aircraft will be operating from tomorrow, or even an hour from now. In contrast, jets like the one depend heavily on advanced logistics, secure data links, and carefully maintained bases. They are incredibly capable machines, but only when the system around them remains intact. The Swedish approach questions that dependency entirely. And that is where the fear begins. During joint exercises, simulated combat scenarios revealed something deeply uncomfortable. When operating in contested electronic warfare environments, where GPS is unreliable, communications are degraded, and centralized command is disrupted, the Swedish doctrine did not collapse. It adapted. Pilots were trained to operate independently, make rapid decisions, and fight with minimal external guidance. Mission command replaced micromanagement. Observers noted that this philosophy aligns disturbingly well with the realities of modern high-intensity conflict. Cyber attacks, jamming, and space denial are no longer theoretical. They are expected. And any system that cannot function under those conditions becomes a liability, no matter how advanced it appears on paper. Even more troubling for alliance planners was cost efficiency. This aircraft costs a fraction of what most fifth-generation fighters do, not just to buy, but to operate. That means more airframes, more pilots, more sorties, and more resilience. In a prolonged conflict, numbers and sustainability matter just as much as cutting-edge technology. Quietly, defense analysts began asking uncomfortable questions. What happens if a smaller nation can field 2 or 3 times as many operational aircraft for the same budget? What happens if those aircraft can survive without perfect infrastructure? What happens if air superiority is no longer about invisibility, but about persistence? The answers did not favor existing assumptions. Inside the two, reports began circulating that avoided dramatic language but carried heavy implications. Words like resilience, distributed operations, and logistical vulnerability appeared more frequently. This was not panic, but it was concern, because the Swedish model doesn't just challenge enemy nations, it challenges allies. It suggests that future wars may reward adaptability over prestige, flexibility over complexity, and decentralization over rigid command hierarchies. That idea alone is disruptive. It forces militaries to reconsider training, procurement, doctrine, and even political commitments tied to massive defense programs. Perhaps most shocking of all was the reaction from pilots who flew alongside it. Some described it as unfairly practical. Others noted how quickly it returned to the fight compared to heavier, more complex jets. There was no flashy spectacle, just relentless efficiency. And that may be the most dangerous thing of all. Because history shows that military revolutions rarely announce themselves with explosions. They arrive quietly, through exercises, evaluations, and doctrines that don't look revolutionary until it's too late to ignore them. The world is now watching closely, not because one aircraft is invincible, but because it proved something many hoped was no longer true. That smart design, clear strategy, and realistic assumptions can still overturn billion-dollar expectations. And once that idea takes hold, there is no going back. And that realization has started a chain reaction far beyond airbases and briefing rooms. Once the implications became clear, defense planners began looking at maps differently. Instead of highlighting major airfields, they started marking highways, remote roads, frozen stretches of land, and civilian infrastructure that could suddenly become launch points. This shift alone rewrites decades of air power thinking. Air dominance was once about protecting a few critical locations. Now it may be about accepting that there are too many locations to destroy. Within Zero, this triggered an uncomfortable internal debate. If a conflict erupted tomorrow against a peer adversary, how many Alliance aircraft would actually be flyable after the first wave of missile strikes? Not theoretically, not on paper. In reality, the answers were not reassuring. Modern warfare assumes that the opening hours will be brutal. Precision strikes, cyber attacks, electronic warfare, space-based assets disrupted or destroyed. Under those conditions, any aircraft that requires flawless coordination becomes a risk. And this is where the Swedish concept feels almost disturbingly honest. It assumes things will go wrong, and it trains pilots to fight anyway. That mindset difference matters more than technology. In many air forces, pilots are conditioned to rely on a constant stream of data, real-time targeting, sensor fusion, networked awareness. Remove that stream, and effectiveness drops sharply. Swedish doctrine takes the opposite approach. Data is helpful, but not essential. If the network collapses, the mission continues. If guidance disappears, pilots adapt. This is not a downgrade. It is a survival mechanism. During war games, scenarios were intentionally degraded, communications cut, satellites denied, command authority fragmented. Instead of grounding the aircraft, operations simply decentralized. Individual pilots made decisions based on training, intent, and situational awareness. The result shocked observers. Sortie rates remained high. Mission success remained acceptable. Losses stayed within projections. That outcome unsettled planners because it revealed a truth many preferred to ignore. Centralization is a vulnerability. The reaction inside the One was cautious but telling. No public statements. No dramatic press briefings. Instead, quiet reassessments, studies, red team analyses, internal memos questioning assumptions that had gone unchallenged for years. One question kept surfacing. What if the future air war is not won by the most advanced jet, but by the one that can keep flying after everything breaks? This question becomes even more dangerous when cost enters the equation. High-end fighters like the two represent extraordinary capability, but also extraordinary dependence. Maintenance hours, specialized parts, secure software environments, global supply chains. In peacetime, this system works. In total war, it becomes fragile. The Swedish approach accepts lower individual prestige in exchange for collective endurance, more aircraft available, more pilots trained, faster turnaround, less dependency on a perfect logistical world. In prolonged conflict, that trade-off may decide everything. Another overlooked factor is political flexibility. Smaller nations adopting this model gain autonomy. They are less dependent on foreign contractors, overseas maintenance hubs, and external political approval to keep their fleets operational. That independence quietly shifts power dynamics within alliances, and that is where the real fear lies, not on the battlefield, but in the balance of influence. If more countries begin prioritizing resilience over complexity, the entire defense ecosystem changes. Procurement strategies shift. Training philosophies evolve. Budgets are questioned. Suddenly, billion-dollar programs are no longer untouchable. They must justify not just performance, but survivability in chaos. Pilots who trained under this system reported something else that caught attention: confidence. Not the arrogance of invincibility, but the calm certainty that even in isolation, they could complete the mission. That psychological edge matters. In war, morale collapses faster than machines. Critics argue that such aircraft cannot compete head-to-head with top-tier stealth fighters in pristine conditions. And they are correct, but that argument misses the point entirely. The future conflict is unlikely to offer pristine conditions to anyone. History supports this pattern. The systems that dominate early often struggle later. Complexity becomes a burden. Simplicity becomes strength. Adaptation outpaces perfection. That is why this development sent shockwaves through defense circles. Not because it guarantees victory, but because it exposes a blind spot. For years, air power doctrine assumed escalation control, infrastructure security, and technological supremacy. This aircraft assumes none of that. It assumes surprise, disruption, and survival. And in doing so, it forces everyone else to confront an uncomfortable possibility. What if the most dangerous aircraft in the sky is not the one you cannot see, but the one you cannot stop, cannot predict, and cannot eliminate? That question is now echoing across strategy rooms worldwide. And once such a question is asked, it cannot be unasked. The world is not in shock because a single jet changed everything. The world is in shock because it proved that everything might already have changed, and most just hadn't noticed yet.